Assalamualaikum students, welcome all of you in the class. Our today's topic will continue on the same literary skills or devices, and our subtopic for today is repetition, hyperbole, and onomatopoeia. So let's begin with repetition. ये एक ऐसा literary device है जो कि involve करता है intentionally जो author इसमें use करता है word या phrase को for emphasizing, for making, giving more effect to two or more times in a speech or in any kind of written work, like repeating the same words या phrases in any literary work of poetry या prose में हो, that can bring clarity to any idea or make it more memorable for the reader. For example, अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ कि when what you own ends up owning you, तो यहाँ पे own जो है is repeated in two different ways. So this repetition gives greater clarity to the meaning of the statement as a whole. यानी कि जो repetition है वो clear करती है meaning of the concept as well as making it memorable for the readers. So the power जो है, जो common example आप देख सकते हैं इस पे. When I was a child, I thought the new moon was a cradle. The full moon was Granny's round face. The new moon was a banana. The full moon was a big cake. So these are the examples of repetition. Few more commonly used examples of repetition जो है, जो हम phrases में conversation के time या writing में use करते हैं. So like time after time, heart to heart, or home sweet home, over and over, again and again. So ये सारे जो हैं, ये these are the common examples which we mostly use in our writing or while we converse with each other. So here are also some famous examples from famous speeches या writing से या quotations जिनको कि हम कहेंगे, like the horror, and the raven never fitting, still is sitting, still is sitting. तो यहाँ पे इन सभी examples में आप देखोगे कि the phrase or a group of words is repeated. So this is repeated in order to emphasize, in order to give more meaning to what the author has to say. And in a repetition में ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि that you use only the words. Writer may use repetition of sounds as well. Overall जो repetition है of sound it can provide a rhythm या pacing बढ़ाता है sounds की and musicality to the work of poetry or prose. So these type repeated sounds जिनको कि हम जो हमने already पढ़ चुके हैं, consonants, assonance and alliteration, उनको बोलते हैं. जहाँ पे कि repetition होता है consonant या vowel sounds का, या alliteration में जो हमने पढ़ा कि initial letter जो है group of words का वो repeat होता है. For example, selling, sales is somewhat silly. तो यहाँ पे repeated word जो है letter है of the words, group of words का वो repeat हो रहा है. So repetition जो है sounds का also effective literary device. And in general जो literary term है repetition, it refers to actually the intentional use of recurring words या phrases में, मान लो आप poetry या prose में जो आते हैं. However, in broader sense, repetition जो है, as a literary device, it includes repeating sounds through consonants, assonance and alliteration. इसमें writing repetition भी आता है, जिसमें कि ज़्यादातर reinforce करते हैं हम concept को या किसी thought को या particular idea जो होता है for a reader by repeating certain words or phrases, और ये बहुत अच्छा लगता है. It becomes more catchy. Writers that utilize repetition can call attention to what is being repeated. जब आप repeated phrase या repeated words पढ़ते हैं, that generate more focus on a particular subject and intensify its meaning. और ये sense of rhythm भी किसी भी literary art में increase करता है. So this is particularly effective when it comes to poetry and speeches actually. And there are some common examples of repetition in literature जो कि मैंने ली हुई हैं, as you can see on the visual. It's a commonly used literary device actually. and here is an example of repetition and how it adds to the value of well-known literary works of art. So this repetition is tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have highlighted fools the way to dusty death. तो यहाँ पे जो है ये विलियम शेक्सपियर ने लिखी है इन हिज स्टोरी मैकबेथ. तो ये एक इज एक्चुअली हिज लेमेंटिंग. मैकबेथ जो है वो लेमेंट कर रहा है डेथ ऑफ हिज वाइफ एंड रिपीट्स द वर्ड टुमारो 3 times, as you can see yourself. So Macbeth's का जो ये repetition है of this word, it calls an attention to the fact that his wife जो है she is no longer and has any tomorrow, and that the tomorrows Macbeth has remaining, that will be a repetition of life without her wife. So this rhythm जो है ये establish कर रही है by the repetition of tomorrow also serves a sense of futility या mundanity in a word that जो इसमें यहाँ पे connotation है that expectations of change or something new is going on. So therefore just as Macbeth has accumulated nothing in the play, his accumulation of tomorrow जो है that also represents nothingness. Again in this example यहाँ पे ये पैसेज जो है मैक कलर की फ्रॉम द बैलड ऑफ द सेफ कैफ़े, तो यहाँ पे भी ये रिपीट कर रहे हैं वर्ड्स हार्ट एंड चाइल्ड को, अगर आप इसको पढ़ेंगे. सो दिस रिपीटिशन जो है ये भी एक इफेक्टिव लिटरेरी डिवाइस है इन दैट इट रीइंफोर्सेस फॉर द रीडर कि जो हार्ट है दैट इज़ बोथ इम्प्रेशनेबल एंड वल्नरेबल इन चिल्ड्रन. जस्ट एज मतलब बहुत ही मतलब इफ़ेक्टिव होता है और वीक भी होता है एट द सेम टाइम, जस्ट एज अ चाइल्ड इज़ इम्प्रेशनेबल एंड वल्नरेबल एज वेल. सो ये रिपीटेड वर्ड्स इन्होंने यूज़ किए हैं दैट इज़ फॉर रीडर्स that what is done to a child will affect their heart actually and therefore affect their capacity for love and emotion for the remainder of their lives. So हमेशा थ्रू रेपिटिशन ही जो ये राइटर होता है ये कन्वे करना चाहता है रीडर को एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन जिस पे कि वो ज़्यादा एम्फेसिस ज़्यादा जोर डालना चाहता है. यहाँ पे भी इन्होंने यही कन्वे किया है रीडर्स को दैट हार्ट एज एन ऑर्गन एंड अ child are subject to the same pain and lasting consequences on it. So I hope repetition is clear to you. Now let's move on another subtopic. So we have another literary device here that is hyperbole. And hyperbole जो है it's actually taken from a Greek word जिसका के मतलब है excess, बहुत ज़्यादा, and is that figure of speech which uses extreme exaggeration. Exaggeration means कि जितना ज़रूरी ना हो उससे ज़्यादा exaggerate करना, like to make a point or to show more emphasis on something. So it's opposite of the understatement जहाँ पे कि हम कुछ express ही नहीं कर पाते हैं. So hyperboles are not like comparisons जो कि हमने metaphor या simile में पढ़ा है, but they are an extravagant or even overstatements which are not meant to be taken literally. So hyperbole जो एक ऐसा डिवाइस है जो कि हम एम्प्लॉय करते हैं in our day to day speech. For example, when you meet a friend after a long time, जब आप बहुत टाइम के बाद मिलते हैं तो you say it has been ages since I last saw you. तो इसका मतलब ही ये है कि मतलब has been ages, ये इस चीज़ को एग्जैजरेट कर रहा है कि बहुत टाइम हुआ है, बहुत काफ़ी अरसा हुआ है आपको देखे हुए. And you may not have met him for 3 or 4 hours or a day, but the use of word aids exaggerates this statement to add more emphasis to your weight. Therefore जो ये hyperbole है it's a kind of unreal exaggeration to emphasize the real situation. So some common hyperbole examples जो हैं मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ. Like you see on visual, a ton of worry was lifted from the beggar's back when he received the alms. Ton of worry. So he saw a man as tall as power pole. यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं जो exaggerate किए हुए हैं words, उन्हीं को हम hyperbole बोलेंगे. So he saw his childhood friend after AIDS. The weather was so hot that literally everything was on fire. Now you can understand, and you can easily take out the hyperbole statements or hyperbole words from these examples, I hope. Mostly in hyperboles का function यही होता है to create an amusing effect or to emphasize our meaning. यानी हमारा जो हम जो कुछ भी बोलना चाहते हैं उसका ज़्यादा असर हो, वो ज़्यादा एम्फेटिकली और उसमें ज़्यादा वाइब्रेंस आए. However, जो literature में होता है, it has very serious implications actually, and by using hyperbole, a writer या poet हो, कोई भी हो, makes common human feelings more remarkable और intense देती है, उसमें intention आ जाता है, आपकी feelings और ज़्यादा expressive होती है to such an extent that they don't remain ordinary. वो ordinary फिर रहती ही नहीं है. In literature, usage of a hyperbole develops contrasts when one thing is described with an overstatement and the other thing is presented normally. So this जो ये contrast होता है between overstatement and normal statement में जो कि develop होती है, this technique is employed to catch the reader's attention. I hope कि ये जो hyperbole है is also clear to you. Now moving on to another literary device, that is onomatopoeia. It's actually the imitation of a sound. यानी कि when you say an onomatopoeic word, तो इसकी जो utterance होती है, जो मुंह से बोल निकलते हैं, itself is reminiscent of the sound to which the word refers. यानी it's one of the many poetic devices dealing with the sounds of poetry. So इसमें बहुत सारे जो लोग हैं वो कंफ्यूज होते हैं onomatopoeia with interjections. However, they are two different and distinct concepts. Interjections जो हैं that comes in the one of the 8 part of speech, and it shows sudden outburst of emotion या excitement, जैसे ouch या wow. But जो onomatopoeic words होते हैं that may be used as interjections. Most interjections do not imitate sounds. So it's actually the imitation, like for example such as buzz or boom. They always mimic the noises to which they refer actually. As you can see on the screen, the bees buzzed by flying back to their hive. Click the button to take the picture. The pig squealed when it saw the dog coming. So यहाँ पे है जो मतलब these are the imitating sounds actually. The words which we used to describe the noises that anyone make, be it animals like dogs bark, cats mew, coos moo. Interestingly, जो onomatopoeic words होते हैं for animal sounds that change quite a bit from one language to another, as words जो हैं वो fit होने चाहिए into larger linguistic system में. ओके, नाउ जो डेफिनेशन है ये onomatopoeia, ये भी एक ग्रीक वर्ड है, एंड द साउंड नेम आई मेक, यानी कि इट्स द onomatopoeic इज वर्ड जो है इज द साउंड दैट अ थिंग बीइंग डिस्क्राइब्ड मेक्स. जिस चीज़ को हम डिस्क्राइब करते हैं वो साउंड मेक करती है, यानी बनाती है. कॉमन एग्जाम्पल्स जो onomatopoeia की है वो है the buzzing bee flew away, the sack fell into the river with a splash, the books fell on the table with a loud thump, etc. और जो animals से sound लेती हैं that is considered examples of onomatopoeia, वो है जो कि sounds easily हम recognize कर सकते हैं of their animals, meow, moo, nee, tweet, oink, ba, etc. अब इनकी जो significance है in literature is to create oral effects, जहाँ पे कि आप mimicry देखोगे, the visual thing is being described. यानी authors sometimes use combination of words to create onomatopoeic effect, जो कि ज़रूरी नहीं है that use the words that are onomatopoeic words or themselves. ये ज़रूरी नहीं है. फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल राइम ऑफ द एंशेंट मैरिनर में जो सैमुअल कॉलरिज है वो यूज़ करता है फ्रेज़ फरो फॉलोड फ्री, यानी वो ये साउंड यूज़ करता है टू मिमिक द साउंड ऑफ द वेग लेफ्ट बिहाइंड अ शिप. तो यहाँ पर वो इन onomatopoeic वर्ड्स का यूज़ करता है लिटरेचर में, तो इसको ज़्यादा इफ़ेक्ट देने के लिए. वन थिंग आई वांट टू टेल यू कि onomatopoeia जो है ये मोस्टली poetic डिवाइस ज़्यादा है कंपेयर टू literary डिवाइस. So these are the words which are used to describe or imitate a natural sound or the sound made by an object or any action. For example, snap, crackle, yeah, pop. So I hope all the literary devices which we read today, like repetition, onomatopoeia, hyperbole, are clear to you. See you in the next class. Till then, Allah Hafiz.